What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Adam. It's Friday morning, April 25th. Still no hot water, of course. I'm not gonna be able to take a shower or have hot water the rest of the time I live here. That's for sure. I'm hoping that the rest of the time I live here is not long. Working on it. So, yesterday morning when I woke up, I had this strong premonition, this strong feeling to not go on the 54-mile bicycle ride that was supposed to go on yesterday. I rescheduled what I had to do to next week, and I think I picked the best day of next week to do it. Well, the guy, yeah, we did the best I could. So, that's taken care of. No big deal. But right at the time, now it was a sunny, beautiful day all day yesterday, and right at the time that I would have been having to turn around and come back home, the skies opened up and it was a complete torrential downpour. And so I would have had to ride home for about an hour and a half in a torrential downpour, on top of it being dark and having to pull my lights out and all that. I don't know how much I would have had to ride in the dark, but it might have been an hour. I don't know. It wouldn't have been fun. And I'm just sitting there at my desk working, thinking to myself, thank you, God, because it felt strong. And at about the time that I would have been home, I was finished with a good chunk of the work that I have to get done this week. And it's a struggle. It's not... I should have put in more hours than I have on this project. I'm putting them in, but it's a struggle. There's too many other things to juggle, and it's just a slog right now because of this douchebag landlord. And holy shit, yesterday I found out so much more about this guy. It's insane. Wow. And then people told me more. I didn't even look for it. I didn't want to know. I wasn't looking for this. It came to me. Information came to me. I'm not the only one who is being screwed right now. One person got up and left, and so far he can't find somebody to replace that tenant. And I hope it happens across the board. I hope he has a bunch of empty properties and he can't get them filled. Karma's a bitch. And at the end of the day, I hope that's the least of his problems. This guy is a straight up scam artist. Like at a level that would blow your mind. If and when I tell you. I found some crazy shit. It's bad. But, you know, a Google search on my name turns up crazy shit too. So, you know, I'm only judging someone by what they do. And this guy deserves everything that's going to happen to him. Because he's a douche slumlord scam artist. Period. He's doing some really shitty things to more than just me, from what I understand now. And, you know, this is all gonna... God has a way of returning the favor. I don't know what form it'll take, but I'm gonna leave it in His hands, because it's not worth it. It's not worth it. I just have a feeling God's going to take care of my situation. I just don't know how or when. And I guess that's good enough for me right now. The comments. Wow, man, every time I look at the comments. You know, you regulars, the super fans, you're cool. We're cool. I'm not talking about you, okay? A lot of people leave a lot of good comments and encouragement and support, and I get messages on the backside from people and like all kinds of it's definitely, it's worth it to keep doing these videos just to have the interactions that I have with all of you. So that's awesome. Like that's one of the best things about this channel and about having done this. But then there's the trolls. And then there's people who are cool people. People who've been leaving comments for a long time that I like. You know, people are, you know, there's one guy who left a comment, and I know he's not trying to be, I would never categorize this guy as a troll. There are just some people that sometimes they leave a comment and I'm scratching my head going, what was that all about? And maybe I need to clarify something. I don't know. But there was a comment about, since there's so much delay in time between when this video is going to go live and when I'm recording it, I don't have a running record of everything I ever said. I don't know. I'm not going to go back in time and dig through a video just to find something. If there's a time code in the comment, if you put whatever the time is of the video, you can put, if it's 1:30, you could put 1:30. If it's 55 minutes and 29 seconds, you could put 55:29 space, whatever you want to say. It will link. Everybody can click on that in the comment section. So other people read the comments, not just me. Sometimes sometimes I am more interested sometimes I see a video and I'm like, yeah, that was pretty funny, but what's in the comment section, that's got to be that's got to be the best. Sometimes the comment section's better than the content. Maybe not on my channel, but you know. But on some videos, especially the short videos, those attention span things, the short attention span videos, or just the funny ones. Sometimes those are hilarious. You know, here's a perfect example of where the comments are better than the video.
She identifies as hurt. Factory reset didn't work. Click flip right in the non-binary. You can feel the pronouns leaving the body. Right in the they thems. No surgery needed then. Transaction denied. Ooh, right in the equal rise. And she got down in Fortnite. Trying to kick flip, learn how to do a lip slide. She gender fluid everywhere. It almost became almost where. That's a cheap way transition. Riding the pensicles, riding a transmission. Slam, slam, riding the mystery box. Straight in the who knows what. Like you see him on at an ATM. Oh, Black Betty, jammed your clam. Busted your lip for show. Dang away, Bill Peters, 9 months later, Tony Osborne.
So, sometimes the comments are better than the video, like I said. Sometimes the comments are where all the gold is in the mine. But anyway, I got a comment from a super fan, somebody who comments on every video. And so, like I said, I don't know where... I know generally what I was saying about the topic, so let's just rewind and I'll rehash that. I was talking about probably one of two things. I may have been going through a list of the things that the landlord said he was going to do, of which he's done 2. He's done 2 things, and one of them was half-assed. The only thing that he's done that he said he was going to do that worked out was the fridge. When I moved in here, you remember, there was, if you see the videos, there was a tiniest of tiny little fridges. You couldn't even stand up a bottle of orange juice upright inside this fridge. It was too small. But before I moved in here, the landlord said, I'm going to cover the ceiling. I'm going to put in a fridge. I'm going to put this 2-burner stove top thing on this countertop, this cart with wheels thing. And I'm going to get an air fryer. And I think that was it. I think that was the first thing that he said, the first wave of what he said he'd do. I got here on day 1, the ceiling wasn't covered. The little fridge was still there. The little cart with the wheels was on it, and I think that the stovetop burner thing was there. So he did that. That's all he did. But he already had those 2 things. They were out on the back patio where people sit and watch TV. There's a covered back patio. And then... so that's what but the first day I moved in, there was no hot water. February 1st. Now it's April 25th. Not only do I not have hot water, the water of the shower won't even run. I think that, I don't know, but I think the shower needs both. I don't understand that one. I could go around and look to see if there's uncovered water pipes, and this place is so fucked up. Anyway, at some point, this guy, he said, when it started getting warm outside, he goes, I'm going to put a second air conditioner in there. There's another window you could put one in. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine, but you don't have to. This air conditioner is a beast in terms of how powerful it is. It takes nothing to get this room down to 60 degrees. I guarantee you on the hottest day of the year, this AC unit will have no problem keeping this room ice cold. No doubt in my mind. I said, you could use a dehumidifier. He goes, what's that? I'm like, huh? But anyway, I explained what it is. I'm like, you could put it right over there and have either a hole in the floor for the drain, or for the drain hose, or you get one with a pump and you can have it go right out. There's a place where you could feed the drain hose if it was a dehumidifier with a pump. And I explained all of this, and I was like, look, you got a lot of moisture in here. This AC unit that's on the wall has a dry setting, so it acts as a dehumidifier. The only problem with it is if I do it at night, it never shuts off. it never stops cooling the room. Like, it will cool the room. It'll go all the way down to like 50 degrees in here, 45 degrees. I swear to God, the AC unit won't shut off. It won't stop. It doesn't. The temperature setting means absolutely nothing if you set it on dry mode. You put it on dry mode, it'll take the moisture right out of the air fast. 10 minutes. 15 minutes. But Houston is so humid that if you turn that mode off within half an hour, it's back. So in order to keep the room dry, you have to have the temperature will get down to like 45 degrees. I'm not kidding. I woke up and it was like closing in on that a couple times. So I don't turn the dehumidifier part on at night. I just leave it set at the temperature I want it to be on the AC, and then when I wake up, I kick on the dehumidifier to dry the place out. And when I'm not here, I leave it on the dehumidifier setting because I don't want the place getting so humid that like my desk will warp. It's bad. It's really bad. And so I'm trying to explain to the guy that if you don't get a dehumidifier in here, when I leave, this place will be full of black mold in about a month. It's all it'll take. And you've got this shower in the corner. First time, if you ever put hot water in here, first time someone takes a hot shower and that steam and this whole place is going to be condemned. You're going to have to tear it down. There'll be so much mold you won't be able to get rid of it. So that's what I was talking about. This guy leaves this comment about, that's not your landlord's responsibility to get a dehumidifier. If you want to be comfortable in your apartment, go buy one yourself. You can go buy one yourself, right? And I'm like, I kind of want to, it was an attitude. And so I'm just going to, I'm not going to throw an attitude back because this guy comes all the time. I've never, this guy, I don't see this guy leaving crappy comments, or I don't call this guy a troll. There are some people who come and leave comments and the only thing they ever do is throw shade. But I think this one was like, either he didn't understand what I was saying or he's copping me a toot. I don't know. It was like, what? I was like, get out of here, dude. But no kidding. I know what a dehumidifier is. I know how to buy one. They're like $300 for a good one. I could get one on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist. If I had a car, I could go get one today. I don't got $300 to spend on a dehumidifier right now. I can make my situation work with the AC unit that has that built in. If that wasn't built in, I'd have a dehumidifier right now because I wouldn't be able to live like that. And it's dangerous. And it's I have computer equipment and stuff that can't be in a 80% humidity environment or whatever, 90% humidity indoors. That's a mold factory. So I just decided to leave it alone. But the landlord, now he's saying he's going to put a real stove in here and he's going to do all this other stuff. And I'm like, you just keep talking, asshole, because you're not doing anything. You won't even fix the hot water in 3 months. Anything else that you say you're going to do, you're full of shit. Or you're going to do it when I leave. But either way, whatever I see right now, whatever it is right now, that's the way it is till I leave. This guy isn't doing shit. But now that he ran this gas line across his yard to the tiny house, natural gas, and now it's just capped at the end and it's not hooked up to anything, and he's getting a hot water heater that I don't even think it runs on natural gas. Maybe it does. I don't even know. he goes, "Oh, I'm going to use that gas line to put a real stove in there." I'm like, "Yeah, whatever. Sure you are." And if I don't even know if I'd trust having a natural gas stove in here that he hooked up. Like, oh yeah, how many times a day am I going to smell natural gas fumes in the place, even though I'm not cooking anything? Yeah, I mean, that's the day that this place is going to blow sky high. You'll see it on the news. And then then I'll be getting phone calls from the media. And there's a reason for that, but I'm not going to talk about it. But no, I'm expecting that the shoddy workmanship, the lack of, I don't know if he has proper, my guess is that he's never done anything with the proper permits or had anything inspected the way you're supposed to when you do this kind of stuff. I don't know. I'm going to highly doubt. I just don't. I can't prove it, so I have to guess, and my guess is that he didn't. But for whatever reason, someone left a comment of, you can get your own dehumidifier. It's not his responsibility. And I'm like, no shit. In fact, I hope that when I leave, he does not get a dehumidifier, and I hope that he doesn't set the AC unit to the dry mode, because about a month after I leave, this place is gonna be so infested with black mold that it won't be habitable. And I'm not kidding about that. That's a fact. That's gonna happen. It's that damp. It's that moist in here. It's that humid in here. The dehumidifier setting on the AC unit takes it right out fast. But the only problem with it is that when you set it to that setting, it never stops cooling the room. I don't understand why it can't work like that. That when you set it on the AC setting, it keeps the room at the temperature you set it at. But when you set it on the dry setting, it just goes down and down and down and down to the point where I'm walking around this place in a pair of jeans and a sweater, and I'm like, it's going to be like 45 degrees in here soon. But I'll turn it off before that happens. If I'm home, I can just manage that. I'll set it and forget, I'll change the settings throughout the day as necessary. It's not a big deal. When I go to bed at night, if I leave the AC on at a certain temperature, I wake up and I can feel the humidity in the air. It's bad. But 10 minutes after I turn the dry setting on, it goes away. But the humidity is so bad in this tiny cabin that like I said, if I leave, it's going to be like, imagine if you had a dilapidated mobile home in an environment like this with the high humidity, and you abandon the home for a year. How much black mold do you think is going to be in that place when you come back? If you just left, you turned the utilities off and you just left it, and you decided to come back a year later and see how it's doing. That whole thing's just going to be, all the wood's going to be warped inside. It's going to be full of black mold. It's going to be completely uninhabitable. The Board of Health will condemn it, and you're going to have to tear it down. That's what's going to happen here in about 2 months. I don't know what the actual measurement is for the humidity if you were to just leave. But so, like, all I'm saying is the dude needs a dehumidifier in here. That's all I was saying. I'm not buying one. I don't give a fuck. I can handle the situation as is with what I have. When I leave, he's got about 2 months to figure that out, or he's never going to find somebody to rent it, because the black mold will cover everything, and it will smell, and it will be obvious, and not a single person who comes in here is going to want to rent this out. It's going to be all up in those boards that he put up there in the ceiling, the fence wood posts, the fence wood boards, like especially shit like that. None of that's treated in any way. Like none of this shit is gonna resist mold. The mold will be like, look at what happens when like look at New Orleans when New Orleans flooded during Hurricane Katrina, and then even when the flood recedes and whatnot, it's not just the floodwater damage, but all the mold, the hot, stanky ass mold that's everywhere. Like you have to tear these houses down. You can't even repair them when they're that. The mold came and just completely infested the place, and you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what's going to happen here. So I hope that clarifies why I was talking about whatever I was talking about with the dehumidifier revolved around the fact that the landlord said he was going to do it and he didn't. But that's par for the course with this guy. And number two, yes, of course, no shit, I know I can buy my own dehumidifier. Don't need an attitude about it. I know that it's not the landlord's responsibility, but what I'm saying is it's gonna be his responsibility when I leave and the place is full of black mold after I'm gone. It won't happen while I'm here because I'm keeping the humidity level low on my own. But he's a cheapskate, so what he's going to do is he's probably just going to leave, when the place is not occupied, he's probably going to leave the air conditioner turned off and just let it be whatever it's going to be in here. And there's moisture trapped behind the shower because he didn't caulk anything properly. So there's going to be water all through that, stagnant water all behind that shower and underneath the shower and all in that back corner of that room, combined with 98% humidity on a 100-degree day while this place is baking in the sun all day and the air conditioner's turned off because he's a cheapskate and doesn't want to spend money on the electricity when there's no tenant in here. And then he's going to open the door to show it to a prospective tenant, and the tenant's going to go, "Oh my God!" Ugh! And the whole place is going to be full of fungus and mold. And it's going to be thick, and it's going to be like, holy shit. And then the prospective tenant is going to leave and call up his friends and be like, "Oh my God, you won't believe the place I just saw." This guy's trying to rent out a place full of mold and fungus and all this crap, and all the boards on the ceiling are warped, and this place should be condemned. It shouldn't even be rented. But I'll be long gone when that happens. I'm just, whatever, dude. Karma's a bitch. It'll happen so fast. He won't even know what happened. It'll happen so fast. This dude won't even know how it happened. But I mean, anybody who has common sense would know how it happened. So that's why whatever comments that you had to come and inform me, as if I didn't know I have the ability to buy a dehumidifier myself. Thank you for your infinite wisdom there. But whatever prompted you to leave that comment, this is what I was talking about whenever I was talking about a dehumidifier. And there's a reason why it is his responsibility. Maybe not while I'm living here, but when I'm gone, if he don't do it, this place is not going to last 2 months in the middle of Houston summer without that. Guaranteed. But if he's going to put a gas stove in here, the place will explode before he has to worry about the mold. So, whatever. I don't care at this point. I can tell you that whatever he does will be done wrong. And you can't fuck around with natural gas like that and expect your house not to blow up. So, good luck, dude. Because he don't listen to anybody. He flat out... He's had people that know what they're talking about argue with him till they're blue in the face. And he's just like, nope, I'm just going to be a cheapskate slumlord and try and do this the cheapest way I can possibly get it done. Oh, I don't need a gas line for a natural gas water heater. I'll just hook up a gas grill propane tank to it. That'll do. That'll be fine. It'll work perfect. Saw how that fucking turned out. Now I don't have running water on the hot water tap at all. I mean, I've never met a bigger idiot in my fucking life. Seriously, like, I can't. I'm trying to think of one. I can't. I mean, I gotta take that back because I was in federal prison. And, yeah. There's something I could say, but I'm gonna wait. But I was in prison. And that's where I met the dumbest people I've ever met in my life. Mind-blowingly dumb. You know, you're going to meet people in prison who couldn't read a children's book. They don't know how to write their own name. They don't know how to they can't even read at a kindergarten level, let alone an 8th grade level. People getting stabbed over a bag of potato chips, fighting over a bag of potato chips to the point where they're getting stabbed. And I don't mean like a full bag of potato chips. I'm talking about the little snack size bag of potato chips that you put in a little kid's Halloween bucket. People get stabbed over that. So that has to count as the dumbest people I've ever met. In fact, every day I was in jail or prison was the day that I met the dumbest person I ever met. Because there was no bottom. There was no bottom to the chart. I'm like, oh, this guy's the dumbest motherfucker I've ever met. And then the next day I'm like, holy shit. Now you're the dumbest motherfucker I've ever met. And then the next day would go by, oh my God, now you're the dumbest motherfucker I've ever met. And that's how it went for 20 months. Every single day I met the new dumbest motherfucker I've ever met for 20 straight months. There was no bottom. There was no bottom to that. So, I would have to preface this is the dumbest guy I've ever met. Not in jail. Not in jail, and there's probably I don't know, there might be a bottom to that, but if they get any dumber, they will go to jail. But there's more to that story, so I'm just going to pass on talking about that for a minute. So, yeah, I'm chilling. It's not super early, but I got something posted. Okay, so, yeah, there's going to be a video coming out on this channel. It's already up. A couple of people have watched it already. When I was in Jamestown, the guy who I'm doing work for right now, after I met him, he's got two things he's trying to do. He's got a restaurant, and I've been working on... The reason why the restaurant website isn't done is because he kept giving me other projects for the restaurant. Oh, I need signs for this. Oh, I need to redo the logo for that. I need a menu, and I had to redo the menu. He actually printed the menu and then decided to change a bunch of things and have me redo the menu again. But he was like, it's not your fault at all. You know, we see some things that we want to change, and they'd only been using the menu for a couple of weeks. And they didn't spend a ton of money printing it. They did it in an on-demand printer, which uses like a laser printing system. It's basically like having an inkjet printer at your house, but at an industrial size level, and it's a laser printer instead of ink. But you don't have to. There's no setup fees for a press. It's just a printer, and it just prints. You just hit print, and you get the number of prints you want, and then they have to cut. There was some full bleed, so they had to cut the pages out, and there's a little bit of work there, but it's not like the intense work of setting it up at a traditional printing company where they would actually have to make printing plates and all that, like a offset press. And so it's economical. I mean, I remember he told me what it cost. It wasn't a ton of money. Especially for something like menus that, you're only going to print so many of those to have at your restaurant. And you're going to change them. They'll change them again probably after who knows how many months. But I have at least now there's a template in place, and if they want to change it around, I could probably do it, turn it around in a day. But we went back and forth on that for a while. That was one of the blockers that got in the way of getting other things done, but it was fine. It's just nothing's been going according to plan since the day I moved to Houston. Nothing. Everything from the project work to the job to finding a place to live, like nothing has gone according to any kind of plan or expectation. It's all just fly by the seat of your pants here. And so I'm putting my head down. I'm trying to get caught up, and there's money on the table for me to get caught up, a significant amount that would actually help the situation tremendously. But it's like trying to play soccer with a broken leg when you're dealing with all this nonsense. And I can tell you from experience that your surroundings have a significant impact on how you can, like when you have a mental job, not a physical job, your surroundings and your peace of mind play a significant part, just like you can't play soccer on a broken leg. Nobody would question that. Nobody would tell the soccer player you're a worthless piece of shit because you have a broken leg and you're hobbling around the field. Get off the field, recover, get a pair of crutches, chill, relax, wait for your leg to heal, and you can come back. But when you have a mental break and you're struggling to do mental work, which is exactly the same as having a broken leg on a soccer field, people think you're a worthless piece of shit, shut the fuck up, stop making excuses, this, that, and the other thing. It doesn't work like that. Anybody who does mental work for a living won't make comments like that, because they know. They know that you can't go to work with your mind and to do mental things that strain your mind all day. You sit in a chair. I didn't understand this. My stepdad had a job like that. And I was just like, all you do is sit in a chair all day, dude. Shut the fuck up. Like, stop making, oh, boo fucking who. I would make fun of him all the time when he would complain about anything to do with his job. I'm like, you make a ton of money to sit in a chair all day. Ooh, cry me a river, all the same shit. I do. I know why you all leave the comments or say the things that you do, because I used to be there. I used to have a physically demanding job. I mean, I was a teenager working at Burger King, making fun of my dad because all he does is sit all day. And then once I got out of college and I started having a job where I sit all day, I'm like, oh, wow. My bad. I even told him, I'm like, my bad. I get it now, dude. I totally get it. I'm like, sorry I made fun of you when I was 15 years old. I mean, holy shit. Now I know what it's like. And the fact that you sit all day plays a toll on your physical health. And you have to balance that out. If you have good balance, but No, if you can't sit in front of a computer and write code and do all this thinking stuff if your mind is fucked up and broken and you're full of anxiety because you've got some slumlord scam artist threatening to cause your homelessness down the road. And so, like, I can put it aside long enough to work in small doses, take a break, do something, do something like, today I'm going to have to take a break to do some laundry, and I've still got dishes to do. Because I'm making food every day, I am getting caught up on the dishes, but it's like, it's not. Ever since this fucking shit, ever since April 3rd, it's been a struggle to keep up with everything. And it's all because it's all this landlord's fault. He took things to a whole nother level, and before he did that, I had some issues, but I was working through them. I had an issue, I was going to the bakery too many days a week. Got that down to 2 days, and I can still make enough money to live. It's like as soon as I set that in motion and got that in place, this guy started his shit and replaced that with that stress was replaced with a whole bunch worse stress. And so it's just like the bottom line is I need to get out of here. Some asshole left a comment, why don't you just fucking leave and stop bitching, asshole? Well, fuck you, asshole. This fucking douchebag, all he ever does is come here and leave shitty comments. So this fucking troll. Somebody even told me in a private message or a comment, hey, did you see the comment I left for that asshole? And I'm like, no, I didn't. And so last night I was in YouTube Studio. I'm like, oh, here we go. Let's go see what comments YouTube held for review. So that fucking troll, he left a comment that was held for review, and it was a shitty, like, go fuck yourself, you stupid asshole comment. And then one of my fans commented back at him and was even worse and was like, oh yeah, wow. So I just hit the approve button on them. But the one guy must have deleted his comment because even I kept hitting the approve button and it wouldn't do anything. It was like ghosted out. So that tells me the guy either deleted his comment or it was so offensive that Google won't even let me approve it and put it on the channel. But I saw it. I'm like, well, it's fucking dickhead. But the funny thing about these trolls is they keep coming back. They literally watch every single fucking video. And they must watch them from beginning to end because they comment on things that they wouldn't know unless they watch the whole video. So, like, wow, you got nothing better to do than watch a guy that you hate day after day after day for up to 5 hours a pop? Fuck it, dude. Keep paying my fucking ad revenue. Like, whatever, dude. I don't give a shit. Like, I'm not gonna block people. I'm not even gonna stop you from leaving comments. I'm not gonna delete your shitty comments. If I ever deleted a comment, it would be something like a spammy porn bot leaving a comment to an OnlyFans channel or something like that has nothing, just like that happens all the time on like Rumble and these other 2-bit ass clown video sites. It even happens on X. There's spammy porn bots all over X. There's like 25 million fake Elon Musk accounts on X. That, like, blows my mind. Like, you're that fucking retarded that you can't just come up with something unique. You gotta make a fake... Like, nobody's gonna know that's a fake Elon Musk account. You're gonna trick everybody. But I think they do trick people. Because I'll have people tell me out on the street, I know someone, so-and-so posted something and Elon Musk responded to her. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm sure he did. There's only 25 million fake Elon Musk accounts on Twitter right now. I'm sure I'm sure it was the real one that responded to your grandma. My grandma posted something and Elon Musk thought it was funny. I'm like, yeah, guarantee you it was the real Elon Musk. I guarantee you it was him. Absolutely was him. Oh, I don't know, man. But yeah, that's just a problem you're going to have. I've said it enough. I've said it a million times. I'll say it again. If you put yourself out there in the public, whether it's on YouTube, social media, whether you start a business, a brick and mortar business out on the street, it does not matter what you do. Someone is going to shit all over you and hate you, give you a 1-star review on Yelp. It doesn't matter. It's why when I, say I'm in a new city, a different city I'm traveling, look at the reviews for a restaurant. Where do you want to eat? I don't know. Go to Google Maps, look for restaurants, and then you start clicking on restaurants. So this one's got, like, you'll see a restaurant that's got like 4 or 5 stars average, but there's always going to be a 1-star review. There's always going to be a bunch. If there's thousands of reviews, there's going to be 1-star reviews. You are not going to be able to do anything about that. A lot of times, if you read the 1-star reviews, you find out, wow, you're a fucking idiot. Like, even a potential customer who's never been to the restaurant before can read some people's 1-star reviews and say, wow, you're a fucking idiot. I wouldn't even count this 1-star review against the restaurant. Just like when I see a 1-star review, I literally, this is not fake. I don't know, I'm not going to put a link to the product or anything, but I bought a pair of bicycle shorts. And in the comments, someone left a 1-star review, and they literally said that they ordered the wrong size and they didn't fit. And so they left a 1-star review. I'm like, well, fuck you. Send them back and get the right size, you dumb motherfucker. You're the one that ordered the wrong size. I used the size chart to take a guess as to which size would be the right ones for me, and they fit. I think if I got the bigger size, they would be too loose, and if I went smaller, they'd be too tight, just based on how these fit. They fit fine. They fit the same as my boxer briefs, except they've got a big pad in them to keep the old taint from falling apart when you ride your bike. And I don't think, in fact, I bought a second pair a while back. They're not even that expensive, but yeah, somebody left them a 1-star review because they got the wrong size. And now, okay, if you got the wrong size, if you ordered one size, like if you ordered an XL and they sent you a small, okay, that's a reason to be pissed if they sent you the wrong size. But this person made it clear that they got the size they ordered and they didn't fit. Well, send them back and get the size that fits. I did that with my son once. I ordered my son a pair of bicycle shorts on Amazon. And he goes to put them on, and he's like, Dad, I can't even get them on. I misjudged the size. But that was my fault. We put them in the package, we sent them back, ordered a couple sizes. I had to go 2 more sizes up. But I was basing it on clothes that he wears. But kids' sizes are harder to figure out because companies are all over the place. With anybody who has kids, kids' sizes don't make any sense, and they're all over the place, and just because it says it's this doesn't mean it is. And so when you're ordering clothes for kids online, it's a nightmare. I never really do it because it's like it's a. But anyway, I got all the new, I got new bike shorts for my son, and they fit him fine. Then he grew out of them, but they fit. But I didn't leave a 1-star review because I ordered the wrong size. But that's what people will do. So you just have to be aware that somebody somewhere is going to hate you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And if you try to be the person who's a people pleaser, and you try to be the person that nobody hates, somebody's going to hate you because they hate people that do that. They hate people pleasers, and they hate people that try to just cater and bow to everybody and try to make everybody like them. So that's a game you can't win. It's a game you can't win. The only way you can the only way that you can win that game is to not play it. And by not playing it, what I mean is just don't care. Do what you want to do. Do what you think's best. I read all the comments on the channel. Sometimes my opinion can be changed. So, I'm not fixed. I'm not completely set in my ways. One guy got mad because I don't want to be a truck driver, and he threw a fucking fit full of expletives and went on a whole tirade about how I don't want to be a truck driver. And I'm never watching your videos again. I bet he is watching them. But he's watching this one right now. All I said in I probably swore in my response to him, but it's because people leave this comment all the time. Just go be a truck driver. Stop bitching about not being able to find a job. Go be a truck driver. As if it's like, that's like saying stop bitching, go be a doctor. Just go be a doctor, just go down to the hospital and tell them you want to be a doctor. That's how easy it is. That's like, how do you be a fucking truck driver by just deciding today, I'm going to be a truck driver. I don't have a CDL, don't have a commercial driver's license. I don't own a big rig, so I don't have a big rig to drive to practice to get my drive. So I guess I got to go to trucking school now, or I got to find a trucker buddy who will let me drive his big rig. How does that even work? How do you get the CDL in the first place? And then after you get it, how do I get a job? I don't have $250,000. I don't have $100,000 to buy a big rig. So then, okay. If I can't afford that, how do I get the job? How do I get to be a trucker? I can go to a trucking company and then, they're all going to do a background check? And so I just paid to go to trucking school and went through all this hell to get my CDL, and now I can't get a job at a trucking company because I'm a convicted felon, and they don't trust me, and they won't give me the keys to a big rig. And, let's say one of them does hire me, and they say, we got to take this shipment from Houston to Dallas. Hold on a minute, I got to call my probation officer and see if I can have permission to leave my district. Yeah, just go be a truck driver. They act as if like I'm a piece of shit because I won't take their infinite wisdom and advice. And it cracks me up. Like, just go be a fucking lawyer. Just go be a doctor. I'm not saying you need as much training to be a truck driver as you do to be a doctor, and nor does truck driving school cost as much as medical school. But you don't just go be a truck driver. Go work. If somebody said go work in a factory, you'd have some merit there, because pretty much anybody could go get a job in a factory. If there was a factory close to here where I thought I could make, everything here is retail. As far as I can see, I haven't seen anything, and I've looked. One thing I haven't done yet that I want to do is apply to a few temp agencies, because I might have some good luck with those. But now that I don't know where I'm going to live, I've decided to put that off because I might be living out in the middle of nowhere, at which point I won't be able to get anywhere on a bicycle. And then people are going to be like, well, just get a place somewhere else. I don't know how many of you people have looked for an apartment lately, but ever since 2020, that's a fucking... I'm in the 4th biggest city in the United States, and finding a place to live is almost impossible. It's not impossible, but it's not easy. I've been looking very, very hard since the beginning of the month, and I have found 3 that I can choose from. I don't get to choose their location. There's no apps out there that let you filter by location. I tried Facebook last night, the marketplace, the map view. I went to the map view and I set a price range. 75% of the links said ad no longer available, like the ad had been taken down, but it still shows up on the map. Room for rent, room for rent, room for rent, room for rent. There's no, and then apartment complex, room for rent, room for rent. There's nothing else that shows up. And then, so you log out of Facebook Marketplace, you come back a couple hours later, every single thing in the homepage of Marketplace is a house for rent, an apartment, a tiny house. None of these places show up when you go to the map and look for them on the map. They don't even show up when you search for apartments and houses. I don't understand how this system is so broken on that app. If you go to Zillow, the only things that show up, the only listings are expensive properties that are run by a real estate agent, where they're going to want an application fee, background check, all that shit. And there aren't that many rentals. Zillow is for buying houses, but there are rentals listed on there. But you will not find a rental listing on Zillow that's not from a real estate agent. So when you reach out to the person, it's going to be a real estate agent. It's not going to be the owner of the property. And then you're going to go through so many hoops and problems there, and they're all pretty expensive. But if you can find an affordable one, even like a little shanty with particle board windows or whatever, it's going to have a real estate agent attached to the listing, and then you're going to owe $50 for an application fee and all this other, bullshit, proof of income and all this other stuff. At least on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, you can find real people that rent property. But I'm in the 4th biggest city in America. It should be easier, but it's not. And then in that case, it's when you start a business, when you start a software company, one of the things that you need to do is look for a need in the marketplace. And there is space in the marketplace right now to build an app specifically for people to find apartments to live that are focused on apartments that are owned by real people and connecting tenants with real people with real landlords with real tenants. You'll have something like, you'll have apartments.com. The only thing on apartments.com is apartment complex, luxury apartments, apartment complex. That's the only thing you'll ever find on there. It's kind of like the equivalent of when I was a teenager living in Pittsburgh, and I had to find places to live when I was in art school. There would be these like next to the newspaper boxes downtown where you put in a quarter and you get a newspaper out of the box and then you shut the box. Right next to that would be free apartment listings. and you'd open the box, you'd take one of these little magazines out, and you'd start flipping the pages, and it was just luxury apartment building, luxury apartment building, luxury apartment building, apartment complex, luxury apartment building, apartment complex, apartment complex, apartment complex, and it's all the same shit. It's like, you know, Black Stallion Manor, or Carriage Oaks, or, you know, just some dumbass made up apartment complex name, page after page after page. So basically somebody figured out, I can put a magazine out there, get all these expensive apartment complexes and luxury condos and luxury apartment buildings to place ads in this book, and it's basically just a thick book of ads for rich asshole apartments that nobody can afford. And then I'll just put these bins all over Pittsburgh, free apartment listings for free, and it's like there's nothing in there for an art student at all. We all used to make fun of them, or we'd take them and do, you know, like you could take them and do something, you know, like you're going camping this weekend, hey, grab a few of those apartment listing brochures. We can use it to start our fires with. That kind of stuff, you know what I mean? But you get a newspaper and you went to the classifieds, it would be full of real apartments with real people. You know, no photos back then, but you know, I could circle like 20 different apartments, make phone calls, go look at 3. And you could find places you could go by neighborhood. You could, I mean, it wasn't as easy as it is now in terms of can't set a zip code filter or whatever, but they were kind of grouped. And you could just skim through the ads and you could find stuff. You know, just a property owner who has properties for rent, and you could call them and set up a viewing, and boom, boom, it's done. And so most of the current state of affairs caters to like some of these apps and websites are just like that fancy magazine that only lists apartment complexes and fancy luxury apartment buildings, and they're not going to have like regular people renting out properties, which is that's the budget I'm in right now. I have to find a landlord who has a property for rent where I'm dealing with the person directly. That's the only way it's going to fit my budget. An apartment complex, that's out of reach, and most of those suck anyway. Now, with a landlord situation, I'm not saying that that's a guarantee that it's, look where I am right now and look what I'm going through right now. I'm in a bad situation, but you could go into an apartment complex and have just as bad of a situation, a place full of roaches, rats, mold, no running hot water, especially here in Houston, because Republican run states, the poor people have no rights. So Houston is full of slums. In fact, I was gonna say something, but I'll wait till another day. But all I'm saying is that you are usually in a better place, and I'm just telling you from years of experience and years of knowing what other people go through, and I've had lots of friends living lots of different situations, and I'm pretty well versed in the sense that if it's it's a roll of the dice no matter what. Whether you can go into a fancy apartment complex with a fancy sign out front that says, let's see, what would it be? Hyacinth Gardens. You can pull into Hyacinth Gardens with the fancy gate out front. There's a guard and a gate that opens when you have to show him that you live there. And you can, you go and you park in your numbered parking spot and go past the fancy lobby with there's a little gym over there and all that. You get up to your apartment and you have no hot water and there's mold and all the cockroaches go scrambling away. And you could go to a luxury apartment building and live in a fucking dump and pay outrageous amounts of money for that. I've seen that time and time again. I've seen that so many times. And you can do it from a private owner. But when you have a good situation, when you live in a good place with a good private owner that actually fixes things and takes care of the property, that's a better situation than living in like an apartment complex or a luxury apartment or something like that that's a property management company that you're dealing with. You're in a better situation if you're dealing with the actual person one-on-one. So, and I'm going to say that I've never done it any other way. And let me think here. If I can go all the way back to the times, first place I ever lived, bad property, bad owner. Second place, decent property, horrible owners. That was one of the worst in my life. Third place I ever lived on my own was wonderful property, wonderful owners. They took care of it. I mean, it was a great place to live. The next place I lived, good property, good owner, fixed anything, very inexpensive and efficient. All utilities were included there. And I'm trying to think, okay, I can kind of remember where I bounced, because I usually stay at a place a while. Next place was a dump, but the landlord was all right. He fixed things. He was pretty responsive. He was friendly. He was easy to deal with. I really didn't have any problems with the guy, and then he sold the house from under us, but he offered to sell it to me, and he was like really trying to get me to buy it, and like he was bending over backwards to like, he got me connected with somebody who was like, you've been paying rent for however many years, you can be approved tomorrow to buy the place. You can be the owner tomorrow. And then he even had 2 other houses in the neighborhood that he dragged me out to see. And one of them was actually really cool and really nice. And I was like, I'm interested in this one maybe. And then it just kind of fizzled out because I didn't want to live in that neighborhood. It was a bad neighborhood. It was like the ghetto. I didn't want to live in the neighborhood anymore. And so I'm like, if I buy a house, I talked myself out of it. But anyway, the landlord wasn't a bad guy. The guy who bought it, the guy who bought all of his properties was horrible. And I left like 2 months. I left within a couple of months, but I was already planning on leaving. So that's... The next place I lived was fucking awesome. Landlord was really good. A little bit of a weirdo, but really good landlord. Really easy to deal with. Really nice place. I loved living there. The next place was fucking fantastic. Old house. There were problems. There were things just due to how old the house was, but it was so awesome. Landlord was really good guy. I never had any problems with him. Every now and then we'd get in an argument about something, but I lived there for more than 5 years. I don't remember exactly how long it was. I lived there a long time. Next place I lived, the house was landlord was It was kind of like, and I only lived there for about 3 years. And then the next place I lived was the best place I've ever lived in my life. And the landlords were fucking awesome people. Really awesome people. Really, really awesome people. That was like the best situation of my life. And now I'm here in the worst place I've ever lived with the worst person I've ever dealt with in terms of a landlord. So I would have to say my experiences have been mostly good doing this way. Why didn't I ever buy a house? Because people are like, you made a ton of money. No, I made a ton of money after I was like 46, 47 years old. I struggled to survive until I was like 40, 45. And then I started to hit my stride in my career. And part of the reason why I hit my stride and started making more money in my career was solely due to my surroundings and the fact that I was in a really nice place, in a really beautiful setting, in a really tranquil environment without a lot of stress. And all of a sudden my mind could focus on everything, and all of a sudden I was more productive and more prolific, and I was able to just dig in and focus on my work harder than I'd ever focused on it in my life. And the results started to hit hard. Like it was, so people are like, "Oh, you made 6 figures and you had all this money." Yeah, just a few years before that, I wasn't even making 50 grand. I went from making almost nothing to doubling my pay every time I got a new job every 1 to 2 years. Until I got to a point where I was all of a sudden making a ton of money, but I had so many problems from the past. I didn't start making good money until I lived out in Amish country and started working remotely, and I made some changes and some demands on the world, and they started to pay off. And people thought I was nuts. People thought I was going to fail. People thought I was going to fall flat on my face, which I actually did when the FBI came to my house. But up until that point, things were going great, money-wise. But it was only for 5 years of my life. And so I was digging myself out of 25 years worth of hell. And so, no, I didn't own a house. In fact, I was trying to save up for a down payment when the FBI came. I was simultaneously going to buy a piece of land, owner finance land, to where I didn't have to lay out a bunch of money and just pay a small, tiny down payment and pay a monthly fee to have 9 acres down in Tennessee. And I was simultaneously trying to scrounge up enough money that I could put down an offer and buy the house that I was already living in. Then I would have been a home owner, quote unquote, and I would have had the landlord, or I would have had the government as my landlord instead of a landlord as my landlord. But that all fell apart the day the FBI came to my house. But it took 5 years from when I hit my stride to when I could even think about owning a house. Up to that point, I was literally struggling, living one paycheck to the next, and if anything happened, like, oh, your car broke down and you need to get your car fixed, that was crippling. Like, that would actually, how am I going to pay rent? And I'd have to, or I'd have to go without a car for 3 weeks and figure it out because I need to pay rent. And, I was living paycheck to paycheck and struggling for years and years and years. And then all of a sudden I hit my stride. But even when I hit my stride, I had so many problems that I could only take care of one at a time. And I still wasn't done fixing all my problems when the FBI came. So now I have those problems from my past now. But before the FBI came, I was making significant progress from 1 year to the next. And I actually did get to the point where not only I could buy a house, but I could probably buy a nice one. But now, that's all a pipe dream at this point. And, in hindsight, if I had been able to buy a house, if I had been able to do a couple other things, I would have lost it all anyway. So I lost everything anyway. So I don't know. But then there's something where, 2 weeks before the FBI came, I looked at 9 acres in Tennessee. I walked the property and everything. And when I got home, it had been pulled out from under me. Someone else bought it. 2 days later, it was sold. And I was like, hindsight's always 20/20. If I had told the guy, here's money to get started, let's get started on this. If I had done that when we were in Tennessee, if I had put the money down It wouldn't have been a lot of money. It would have just been a small, honestly, I don't even think I would have had to give the guy $500 to do the deal. I could have given the guy, let's say I hand the guy $500 and he was an honest, like I've been talking to this guy for years and I did my homework and this was a legit owner finance guy. I would have had 9 acres to play with. I would have been so consumed by what am I going to do now that I just signed my name to this property that I wouldn't have had time to be on social media running my mouth and doing stupid shit. I would have been completely consumed with making another trip to Tennessee and starting to build whatever I was going to build and do to this property. I was going to the guy was going to do all the excavation work. We talked to, I mean, I was there for a while. We talked about plans. I said, clear out this space. Like I was pretty serious about it, but there were a couple of things I didn't like about the property that made me kind of want to hold out and wait until I get home and see how I feel. Like sometimes you just got to walk away and don't impulse buy and don't especially something like that. You don't just want to do on an impulse. So I just wanted to go home and let it sit with me for about a week, maybe 3-4 days, whatever. I had 2-3 more days on this trip. And then when we got home, I would probably call the guy and talk about it and make sure that this is really what I want to do. And when I got home, I go to the guy's website. He has it marked as sold. He has other properties. The properties adjacent to the property were available. Like there were plenty of properties, some up to 12 acres that were available. But they were not, like this one was kind of a gem. It was like, I want to call it a unicorn. It wasn't quite a unicorn. And I went on purpose in the middle of summer, like July, to look at this property. It had been listed for a while. It had a creek running right through the middle of it. It was 9 acres. I wanted to go see if the creek had water in it. Best time to do that's the middle of July. Creek was dry as a bone. There were turtles. There were other things to show that water does come through here. And there was enough, there were enough strainers wrapped around trees in different parts of the property that showed me how high the water goes. And the water would get really, there was don't build anything here, because you could look around and you're like, yeah, it's dry now, but at some point in the spring, this is going to be covered in water. But it was on a mountain. It was mountain land, so there were different levels to it. And so the whole thing wasn't going to flood. And there were plenty of places to build a cabin that would never see a drop of water in the foundation. And it was 9 acres. It was nice. I was like, holy shit, I could put a mountain bike course, a course, not a trail, but on 9 acres you could put a decent mountain bike track with ramps and jumps and fun things like that. And it had some up and down. Could have done a lot of cool shit with that property. But, that's in the past. But it's the one regret that at the time I was like, no, I shouldn't be spending my money here. I should be just targeting buying the house. And if I could, if the owners wouldn't sell the house I was living in to me, I would have at least had enough money for a down payment to go buy a house somewhere else, and had plenty of time to go look and find the right house. But I wanted the house that I was living in. I didn't want to move. I loved that place. That was the best place I'd ever lived. I wanted to live there for the rest of my life. At least maybe have a place, like I said, have a place down south that I can escape to once in a while and enjoy, that. And so I thought I could do, but anyway, if I had bought if I had put my name on the paper and signed the documents to do that deal with the land, the FBI would have never came to my house, because I wouldn't have been running my mouth on social media. I would have been completely consumed with, when are we going back to Tennessee? Oh, I got to find a Amish cabin to drop. I had all these things. I'm going to have to go down to Tennessee again and make sure that the excavation is going I'm going to have to, I would have been just focused on packing my shit to make another trip to Tennessee for a weekend to like make sure everything's going right. And how are we going to get this done and that done? It would have been a project. It would have been a major project. It would have taken all my focus and time other than my job. And my job was paying me well. And my next focus would have been, how can I set up the new property so that I can do my work from there? So that I can go down there and spend a couple of weeks at a time working on the property, but still have good internet and be able to do my job. Starlink wasn't there yet. But anyway, that's one regret, that in hindsight, shelling out the money and putting my name on that property would have saved me from going to prison. And it's just in a weird, because, and who knows what would have happened. Some other crazy thing might have happened instead, but I don't know. It's getting to that point where I gotta finish my coffee, do whatever it is I gotta do here, and sit down in front of my computer and try. I'm going to try and put in 12 billable hours today. That's a tall order based on what time it is right now. And I'll be happy if I get the next... There's 2 things that I need to finish before I can, wash my hands and say I did everything that was on the list that we're trying to get done right now. One of the 3 things is done. Done. And the other things are in the works. There's a good chance I can get done with everything today. Really good chance. And that would feel awesome. That would actually boost my mood more than just about anything right now. So I'm gonna need 20 minutes or so to warm up, and then get to it. But I've got all day. Seems to be I'm falling out around 10 o'clock at night now, which is better than falling out at 8 o'clock. Once again, though, I looked back through my timesheets. I record anything that I do that's productive. That could be anything from my freelance work to working at the bakery to doing these videos and doing the stuff related to that. And it could be 6 other things that I'm working on. It could be sitting down to organize my finances. I do not track, household chores don't count. Folding laundry doesn't count. Doing laundry, doing dishes, cleaning the apartment, cleaning, and that kind of stuff I don't count. If I were to go to my desk, I have 4 drawers on this desk. If I were to pull all those drawers out and complete, there's stuff in the drawers that needs organized. Right now, I just haven't had time. I haven't had time since the day I got to Houston to do it. I would count that as productive time because there's files and paperwork in there that it would cross the line, and I would count that as being productive. But at the end of each week, I'm telling you, going all the way back to August, 70 to 75 hours a week I spend doing productive things. So that's basically, I'm working 75 hours a week. It doesn't mean I'm getting paid for 75 hours a week, but I'm working 75 hours a week, and I keep saying I'm playing the long game. So, yeah, my income is dog shit right now. But I know that I'm building something that I can flip down the road. You know, it's kind of like when you buy a $30,000 house that's all dilapidated and falling apart. But if you make the right move and you play the long game, put it this way, there's a neighborhood in Pittsburgh. It's called Lawrenceville. It was a fucking ghetto. It was a dump. The hot neighborhood in Pittsburgh was always the South Side. That's where all the trendy people lived. That's where all the coffee shops and the bars and all the fancy, like, it wasn't the fancy neighborhood, the rich people neighborhood is called Shady Side. The hip neighborhood, the artist neighborhood, the funky neighborhood, the neighborhood with all the cool stuff going on was South Side. It got super expensive to live in the South Side all of a sudden. Gentrification. The people that made the South Side the cool neighborhood got priced out of their own neighborhood, and they all moved to Lawrenceville. Now, Lawrenceville was the ghetto. Like, literally, particle board windows, spray painted numbers on the house instead of the numbers that you get at Home Depot. Gunshots everywhere, you know, just a complete rundown slum-filled shithole. And you could buy a house in Lawrenceville for like $25,000, $30,000, an actual house. All right, so when all the trendy people from South Side left the South Side because it became too expensive to live there, they all of them moved to Lawrenceville. And they started to make Lawrenceville the cool neighborhood. And within 10 years, the neighborhood of Lawrenceville replaced South Side as the trendy, hip hot spot in town. And I know people who bought houses for $30,000 and sold them for $800,000. Imagine that. Imagine buying a house for $30,000 and doing some renovations and stuff to it. Let's say that when it all was said and done, you put $100,000 into your house to make it nice. But, you know, you lived in the ghetto, so you didn't want to make it too nice. You know, you still got to have bars on the windows and, you know, but anyway, 10 years later, you sell that for $700,000, $800,000 to some trendy doctor who wants to live in the hipsterville. All the property values in Lawrenceville skyrocketed. And now Lawrenceville is the neighborhood where nobody can afford to live, and the artists and all the people that made it cool, none of them can afford to live there now. So I don't know where they're moving next, but there's like a roving band of people that make a neighborhood cool and then they can't afford to live there anymore and they got to go somewhere else. And the South Side right now is turning into the ghetto. Like, you go down to the South Side and some of the cool stuff is there, but it's turned into like gunshots every night, fights in the street every night. It's turned into a dump, and a lot of the coolest businesses have gone out of business, and the property values are starting to go down. The neighborhood's starting to get shitty. It's kind of gone downhill. Lawrenceville is on the up, South Side's on the down. But Lawrenceville got so expensive and so ridiculously overpriced that people can't afford to live there now. And so they're looking for, I don't know, because I haven't been to Pittsburgh in a long time. I don't know what the next neighborhood is, but it's like a roving band of neighborhood builders that have to go from one neighborhood to the next because they price themselves out of their own neighborhood every time they make it cool. But the people who can afford to buy a dilapidated, shitty house somewhere in the next neighborhood that's going to be made cool stands to make a lot of money. If you could predict which neighborhood in Pittsburgh is going to be the next hot spot in town, buy as much property as you can, because you'll be able to buy a house for $30,000, $40,000 that's all run down and shitty, do a $30,000 to $100,000 in renovations, and then sell it for, $750,000 a few years later. If you play your cards right, you can really, that city, holy shit, you can do things like that there. But I know a girl whose dad is a doctor, bought her a house in Lawrenceville, paid not a lot of money for it because of when it was bought, but the house is worth like $900,000 now. Just because of where it is. Last I knew, she was still living there, but like her dad bought the house. It's his house. She lives in it, but I don't know all the details. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I haven't talked to this person in a long time, but the guy made his money back on the investment. Whether his daughter lives there forever or ends up owning it herself or whatever, but he didn't pay much at all for the house, and the neighborhood value skyrocketed to the point where anybody who owned property there is an instant millionaire. It's like winning the lottery. When my daughter was 3 years old, I looked at a rental down there in Lawrenceville, and this is back before it was made cool. We pulled up to the house. There were the number of the house was spray painted on the door, and it was like a fucking weird ass particle board door. The windows were all cracked. I mean, it looked like a haunted house. And then there were like 4 bullet holes in the door. And then the back wall of the room where you walk in from the front door had bullet holes in the opposite wall. And my daughter was with me. And she was like 3 years old. And one of my best friends was with me. And we're cracking. I mean, we're putting our hands over our mouth because this landlord is like talking about how great this place is. And I'm like, are those bullet holes in the door? And I'm like, you see, I got a daughter. I told you I had a 3-year-old kid, right? Because I did. I told the guy, and he goes, oh, we had actually, this is the thing, we had actually gone to look at another one of his properties. And he goes, oh, I've got the perfect place for you guys. I had my daughter with me. My friend was with me. We looked at a place and it sucked. And he goes, well, I've got one more property and I think it would be perfect for you guys. And I'm like, oh, really? And so we followed him. And and we ended up parking in front of the bullet hole filled slum hole. And we're like, no. He did not just see that I'm walking around with a 3-year-old fucking kid and suggest that I come move into a house full of fucking bullet holes with the house number spray painted on the door. He did that. And so I'm like, yeah, we're good. And I never looked at another place in Lawrenceville after that. But this was the neighborhood, like that house, that whatever you want to call it, with the particle board windows and the spray painted number on the door full of bullet holes and bullet holes on the back wall of the front room, that house would probably cost $750,000 today. Same exact fucking house 20 years later would probably be worth, I could have probably bought that fucking house for 10 grand. I could have probably scrounged together $10,000, and if I could have suffered 15 years or so living in that place, I could have sold it for $750,000. That's the craziness of that neighborhood and how it flipped. Live and learn. Hindsight's always 20/20. But with that, I really do have to get going. I really do have work I want to do today. I want to try and get caught up on dishes and laundry so that tomorrow when I ride my bicycle to the bakery, I can come home and I have nothing stressing me out other than, the daily shit show with this slumlord. Peace out.